Freedom Front Plus, Action SA, ACDP and UDM are urging the DA to honour its commitment to keep the ANC out of municipal governance. While the parties have agreed to a coalition with the DA in Tshwane, they are split on an arrangement on the leadership of Johannesburg. DA leader John Steenhuisen says his party will present mayoral candidates for Tshwane, while the five smaller parties are lobbying for Action SA's Herman Mashaba to be at the mayoral face of the coalition in Johannesburg. Is this a recipe for disaster? For more on this, we are joined by political analyst Sethulego Matebesi. Professor, good morning. Good to speak to you. The DA's about turn. Is the DA dropping the ball on coalition politics?
Good morning, Hugo and fellow South Africans. Yet once again, I mean, what the DA is doing is just indicative of the kind of leadership we have in this country. At one side, they are fine with the support from Action A and all these political parties, but yet just a few kilometers away in Tshwane or Johannesburg, they do not want to support Action SA. And one can only say it seems as if there are still unresolved issues about Herman Mashaba. Maybe the DA is still disgruntled about the action that Herman Mashaba has taken. And to a certain extent, I know where the DA is coming from when they, if you look at their public pronouncement about they do not want to depend on the support of the EFF. But fact of the matter is they went into a room and concluded an agreement with these parties. But yet when it's facing, when they need to come to the table to support another one, partner, it seems as if they are definitely dropping the volume.
So is it DA's dislike, if you will, of the ANC and possibly the EFF impacting on these high municipalities?
Yeah, one had to be very careful how you phrase such a response. A very good question, by the way, Hugo. But fact of the matter is, we saw what happened during the 2016 edition of the elections, very chaotic situation. And perhaps the DA is very cautious, but I believe that we are moving in uncharted territory, and there will still be a lot of roadblocks, there will still be a lot of stop signs along the line of these so-called coalition governments in South Africa going forward. And somewhere along the line, there had to be compromise. This is not an outright agreement with the EFF, but yet to a certain extent they will depend on the EFF because the EFF has publicly indicated they will vote according to certain lines, and perhaps also this anger against the ANC. Maybe that is also one of the main problems that is actually encouraging the DA to lose sight here on a very particular, what I would say a fundamental matter. Because the fact of the matter is what is going to happen within the next week or so. That simply means that the ANC still stands a chance of taking both Tshwane and Johannesburg. Because the question is, do we now really believe that Action SA and all those other smaller parties will support the Democratic Alliance? And this is what I foresee, yet another chaotic episode going forward with the elections of the officials and maybe the mayoral committee. Definitely, it's going to be a huge challenge for South Africa yet again.
Professor, let me ask you this. Is the DA insincere, or is it a case of having spoken out of turn, thinking that this is the best way to go forward, and then going back to their federal executive meeting and then realizing that, no, this is not what they wanted to do? Can a political party can they not change their minds, or are they actually being insincere?
The problem is there's too many pressures, and I'm glad that I'm not a political leader in South Africa currently, because it's not only about making an argument. You need to look at all the other factors. You've got a certain, voters who have voted for you. You need to appease those voters, and you don't want to be seen to be in bed with certain groupings and ideological groupings here, like the EFF and all that. But for me, it is definitely that in this instance, the Democratic Alliance, for me, I thought that they actually, compared to all the other parties, because remember also they are the second largest party in terms of electoral support in South Africa, and I thought at least they will come to the party and set the tone for these other parties, like Action SA is just a party which has recently been formed, and I thought the DA will take leadership, and it's all these things where even in private companies where you have perhaps stepped on the toes of your superiors, and later on it becomes a huge problem. We need to set aside personal issues or issues which happen within the Democratic Alliance and try to advance the interest of South Africans. Because I think actually where the ANC is currently, if I was in the negotiating team of the African National Congress, I will be all smiles with what is happening between these so-called potential partners. Behind the scenes, it is definitely good for the African National Congress. And that is why I say we should not be surprised if this is going to happen in both municipalities. The DA may think that they perhaps won Tshwane, but that is also not guaranteed.
So fair to say that the ANC literally has been thrown a lifeline?
Yeah, no, well, you should just seen what the ANC have been doing in other provinces, not West. We know what happened in KwaZulu-Natal, where their agreement with the IFP and SAPAT, there's a lot of questions around why have the IFP just 7 days or a couple of days backtracked on that. And I strongly believe that the election team of the ANC or the negotiation team is hard at work, and they will try to exploit this particular situation. And I will not be surprised if they have not started knocking on the doors of some of these potential opposition parties to say, look, while you are still bickering, let us look at a bigger picture and try to rescue the situation. But I just hope that we will not have many cases where we will have to see interventions from our provincial MECs of COPTA, because that will also now once again perhaps put the ANC at the center of trying to come in at the back door. But fact of the matter is there are legal recourse if the parties are not going to agree, and if they can't elect the municipal officials and representatives. The fact of the matter is there will have to be some sort of intervention, and that will be very unfortunate once again.
Now, if this impasse carries on until the 2 days, I think, that they have in order to reach an agreement, what happens next?
No, well, it all depends if this current speaker meeting had to be called. I mean, a council first inaugural meeting has to be called, and it all depends what is going to play out of that. And that's why I say you should not be surprised, because we don't know behind the scenes what is happening. And I strongly believe, and I'm re